Let me begin by thanking Kamala for this good invite. She is I always tell her, a mega manager of events. She does a very great job of inviting a lot of people, bringing together. We had a similar conference on education, has been her area of interest. So let me come straight to the topic, and I would wish to invite you to reflect with me on the ongoing debate in the country on new education policy. As young students, all of you should be keenly watching that there is a new education policy that is being implemented. Our former Vice Chancellor has now become the new chairman of the UGC, and he is going ahead with implementing this new education policy. And they want to change the face of higher education, the current regime, in the next 10-20 years. As part of that, he has announced already the new policy that now you will have only undergraduate. It's the American model of liberal arts for 4 years. There is no master's degree. There is no MPhil. From undergraduate, you will straight go away into PhD, which will be very limited number of seats in PhD, with only few chosen, what they call meritorious, will be allowed for PhD. So this has a different context in the United States, but this is what the current regime is adopting in the Indian case. Broadly, what this would turn out is that large sections of society will not have education beyond undergraduate. BA will be the final degree for most of you, or most of the coming generation. That is a liberal arts. Within that undergraduate also, they are making some relevant point, but for some illegitimate kind of outcomes are possible, and it is in the interest, and Osmania University has been one of the universities at the forefront of resistance of various kinds. It has an active Dalit Bahujan politics. It was active during the Telangana movement. So I invite students of Osmania University to keenly debate that what is the outcome of this new education policy. Why is the current regime changing education in such a dramatic fashion? What was wrong with the previous model? What will be the outcome if you deny higher education to a large sections of society and reserve it only for a very tiny minority? There are 3 or 4 major points. I will not have the time to get many details, but the way it is being imagined, the arguments that they are making, and the outcomes of that will be very different. Broadly, I would call that this new education policy is projected as a new market-oriented, skill-oriented, practical education policy, but behind it is to reinforce existing social hierarchies along both, especially caste, but also caste, gender, and religion. So this is a very neoconservative educational document in the Indian context. If you read the provisions of new education policy, they are arguing that you will have a 4-year undergraduate courses, where you will also be trained in vocational, like carpentry, electricity. These are all basic skills, vocational. So they are giving you option to drop out. From class 8 onwards, you have option to drop out. Class 8, class 10, class 12, degree, first year, third year, fourth year. This exit option is what they are depicting as expansion of freedom. But imagine today you do not have jobs for those who are with PhD. What will a person who has dropped out of 8th standard, 12th standard, degree with certificate courses, where will he go or what will he do? And they are saying that dignity of labor, in the name of dignity of labor, they are saying they will teach students carpentry, electricity, they make them an electrician, and BHU Vice Chancellor recently taught his students to make cakes out of cow dung. They are investing in useless projects of projecting the scientificity of cow urine. So they are asking us to drink urine, and they are pouring milk over Shivalingas. So this is a neo-conservative regime that is going to, I think especially because Osmania University has more than 80% Dalit Bahujan students, Unfortunately, Dalit Bahujan politics has taken a wrong turn. They are involved in issues, non-issues. This is what they should be protesting against. What this new education policy will do in the next 30 years, if this regime continues the way it is to push back the Dalit Bahujans to their own caste occupations. People who were doing earlier, who are aspiring to now higher education, will end up becoming carpenters, will end up becoming electricians, will end up becoming pottery makers, so on and so forth. So there is nothing wrong with physical labor. No, the confusion they are creating is this, that they are saying this is dignifying physical labor like it happens in United States, that where you have a sweeper has the equal amount of dignity as a university professor. So their claim is that they are creating that kind of a system, but in United States, of course, they have a racial problem, but labor is not divided according to caste. Indian context, we have a huge social gap between a tiny caste Hindu elite and a large number of Dalit, Bahujan, women, Muslims who do not have social and economic opportunities. This new economic policy is going to cut off the ladder to that higher education. Along with this, if they win, God forbid, 2024, the first decision they are going to take is to abandon affirmative action reservation, caste-based reservations, and move it to economic criteria. Again, reservations by economic criteria would mean the poor among caste Hindus will undoubtedly become more eligible than those who have rural education in rural government schools, so on and so forth. If they were really interested, what they should have done is to invest in public education system, give quality public education, primary education in India. But that's not what the document is saying. So my first proposition would be that this is a system, this goes along with the larger worldview of the RSS, that social harmony in society can be maintained not through rights discourse. This is what Prime Minister Modi said, we are talking too much of rights, and rights discourse has destroyed India. There is too much of democracy. Therefore, peace, harmony is possible in society if social groups are reconciled to live within their means. It is the old Varna Dharma kind of an imagination, that each group should live within its means, it should think of opportunities and mobility within its limitations. Then RSS thinks that there will be no social conflict in this society. So if women are homebound, do not aspire to come out. If Muslims are within their localities, do not demand natural resources of the nation. If Dalits do their caste occupations, if OBCs do their caste occupations, RSS thinks there will be no social conflict. But is that the society that we would like to visualize? And the new education policies, through its combination of massive privatization and cutting out. The first thing this current Vice Chancellor, who is now the current UGC chairman, did when he became Vice Chancellor of JNU was, in JNU we had what is known as the deprivation points. That is, we had multi-access reservation, not just caste-based reservation. We used to give 5 marks extra to those who came from extremely backward areas. We gave 5 marks to those who studied in government schools. We gave 5 marks to those who did not study their primary education in English. We gave 5 marks to women. We had an extensive multi-axial reservation policy. That is the reason if you see JNU's composition, we used to get students from extremely backward areas like Kalahandi. We have students from Telangana districts. All of them with linguistic difficulties cannot speak English. But what JNU did was that within 6 months of their stay, it gave them confidence. They learned English. So Professor Ajay says English is important. Part of it is true. But not only English. Problem with Professor Ajay's logic is that English he wants, but where is education? When primary education itself is being removed, merely emphasizing English will be a misplaced. Similarly, like fighting for reservations when you don't have government jobs. So attack is happening at multiple levels, and the Dalit, Bahujan, women, Muslims should come together to think in comprehensive fashion where this education system is going. So in JNU, within 6 months, these students, mostly Dalits, mostly OBCs, women, Muslims coming from backward regions, studied in non-English medium education. 6 months you can see the dramatic transformation in them. First, when we enter into class, first semester, they are quiet, diffident, lack confidence, but in 6 months the campus atmosphere gives them so much of confidence. By second semester, they start questioning us. Sir, we disagree with what you are saying, we disagree with that, we disagree with this. This is the confidence they gain, and this is what creates discomfort to this current ruling elite. The reason that they attack JNU, not because it is left, not because all that is there, but the primary discomfort the JNU model of education creates is that it has demonstrated for the last 50 years consistently that you can bring people with disadvantaged backgrounds and create fine products out of it. The most backward regions, all my classmates came from Odisha, tribal background. Many of them are now into administrative services. Many of them are professors. And wherever they are the best in the country. Whether they are in academic, whether they are in journalists, whether they are administrative service, and all of them came with very poor social, economic, linguistic backgrounds. If JNU can do it, why not rest of the country? This is a debate we should have had, that how to expand this opportunity field. But the current regime's understanding, because of its conservative character, is that it feels this model is creating social strife. Because opportunities are limited. If you keep expanding the social groups who aspire for this kind of mobility, then it is going to end up with more and more social conflict. Which is partly true, that is bound to happen. But that social conflict is a productive social conflict. That social conflict is for better social mobility. It is not, the conflict itself does not mean that it is going to be negative. Not all conflicts in society will lead to destruction. We have to get into the character of that social conflict. In personal relations, we have conflict with parents, we have conflict with our spouses. You can never have a society without conflict. But the point is to convert that conflict into productive ways. If I have conflict with my spouse, it is that I learn to become more responsible in my domestic role. That should be the outcome of the conflict. It doesn't mean peace means that you separate the roles, ask women to be at home, men to earn, and then say this is the peace. Then graveyard also is very peaceful. The people are dead, there is no conflict, no dialogue, no disturbance. It's very peaceful. When one goes and sleeps at night in graveyard, one gets very sound sleep. So one has to make a difference between peace with justice, peace with injustice. Unfortunately, RSS, with its conservative understanding of social relations, they might have a certain vision. But that much we have considered. They want a society which is more unified. But for that unity, how do you create that unity? And JNU is the best model. JNU is a mini India. We have people from all linguistic backgrounds. We have all language, religions, caste. JNU, as all of you know, has been a place without violence. People discuss. People argue. When we were students, we used to sit in dining table. We had endless discussions. Discussion was a continuous mode. I tell you this joke. You should read this book, JNU, over the years. There was once a thief caught in JNU hostel stealing a clock, and students caught hold of him. After catching hold of him, they didn't know what to do. They said, let us have a GBM. What to do with this thief? One group said, we have to send him to police, get him arrested. Another group said, human rights. He has become a thief because he came from a poor background, so he should not be punished. They kept arguing entire night till early morning. Then they could not decide, they finally decided, let us ask the thief. Thief said, please leave me and give me over to the police. I cannot bear this discussion. That is the amount of discussion JNU has till you get tired. It is one place where we don't have to persuade students. We literally run away from our students because they want classes to be extended. If my class is daily 3 to 5, invariably my class gets extended till 6 p.m. The students don't leave you.
It's concluded.
Okay.
Spanish.
So, so we education is made, is linked to a social vision of justice, students respond on their own. If you make it irrelevant and give irrelevant talks, irrelevant topics, which is what the new education policy is going to make, then obviously you need discipline, you need attendance, you need policing, you need CCTV cameras, you need attendance, you need punishments, you need grade cut and all that. In JNU, if you announce a seminar, even in summer, you can come and see. Only one poster is enough, there will be 200 students sitting. Before, they will start sitting from half an hour before. Nowhere in country this happens. Why is it so? We should be discussing. And this is, I think, a true model of education we have had, thanks to the Congress party, with all its frailties, failures, all its limitations. It created a possibility for social mobility. Along, I think, Baba Sahib Ambedkar's social vision of taking higher education seriously. Today, we are witnessing what Ambedkar said, counter-revolution. That we are into a neo-conservative phase. Unfortunately, much of Dalit Bahujan themselves are aligning with this and perhaps getting to reasons as to why that is happening nationally. But all I can, given the limited time I have, is that all of you should very seriously debate this new education policy. We might have to resist certain parts of this because it is a combination of conservative Brahmanism and a market-oriented libertarianism. I'll stop here. Thank you.